Hi, it's Saturday, November 28th, 2020. And this is either episode 7, if you count all the football ones and the special editions, or episode 3 of the Nick Black podcast. That's for you to decide. Personally, I don't really care. But thanks for listening, everybody. There's a few things I want to talk about today. Random things that don't have any real connection except for I just wanted to talk about them. I'm going to start off by saying, usually this is not an organized thing. I just kind of just speak whatever's on my mind. This is the most organized I've ever been. I'm really excited because I finally figured out how to put images on my videos. As all of you know, I don't actually record video. I'm just recording audio. And the screen is just one big black square. And I think that's always sucked, but up until now, I mean, guys, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. I'm just a dude on an old computer with a microphone trying to make something out of nothing. So I'm experimenting a little bit. See how this works. Anyway, Thanksgiving was 2 days ago. Hope you all had a good Thanksgiving. Hope you all had a safe Thanksgiving. I hope you guys managed to stay indoors, sheltering in place like I did. This was the first year that I didn't actually get to spend Thanksgiving with the rest of my family. Now, by that, I mean, I still live at home with, I don't know what the right term is. I don't want to say primary family, but the family that I've lived with my entire life. I like a lot of people, have more than one family, if you guys follow my meaning here. By that, I mean, I live with my dad's family, but I also spent a big chunk of my childhood with my mom's family. We're very close, and usually the holidays is where I see them. I don't live with them, but they live nearby, so we spend a variety of various family occasions together. But due to the pandemic, this is going to be my first everything. It was my first Easter without them, first Halloween without them, first Thanksgiving, and it's going to be my first Christmas without them. But it's important to remember that we all need to do our part to help put an end to this pandemic as soon as we possibly can. But my worry is that not enough people are doing that. In my area, one of my local hospitals just announced that they are at complete capacity for COVID patients, and that's a pretty scary thought. So I'm expecting a pretty huge spike. We've already seen huge spike in numbers of the virus. All I'm getting at is I hope you guys manage to stay safe. I hope you guys are healthy. I hope you guys continue to be so. But I don't really want to talk about that. I want to talk about something else. So, what do you guys usually have for Thanksgiving? Turkey, obviously. Stuffing, maybe mashed potatoes. What about desserts? Pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving is a given, right? Like everyone has pumpkin pie. I personally don't like pumpkin pie, but I seem to be in the minority there. You might have other kinds of pie. Maybe apple pie, maybe pecan pie, maybe a chocolate mousse pie. Personally, my favorite pie, and I get a lot of shit for this, I don't understand it, but my absolute favorite pie is cherry pie. And when I tell people that, they give me these weird looks. Like I'm an alien or I'm a weirdo or there's something wrong with me. And I don't understand it because cherry pie is one of them. I mean, the two most famous pies in the world are apple and cherry. So why do people look at me funny when I tell them that cherry pie is my favorite? But more to the point, why is it so goddamn hard to find? I mean, at my local grocery stores, finding a cherry pie in the midst of all the other kinds of pies, mostly apple. And I like apple pie. I'm not knocking apple pie. And apple pie is, obviously the most popular. But it's almost impossible for me to find cherry pie. Now, you might be wondering, why don't you make a cherry pie? That's not the point. You guys ever been to Black Bear Diner? Black Bear Diner has a ridiculous variety of different kind of pies and cobblers. The obvious apple, blueberry, peach. It goes on to boysenberry, rhubarb, which rhubarb is disgusting, but that's not the point. I can't get cherry pie there. And the last time I went there, there might have been like 24 different types of pie, but no cherry. Now you might be thinking, what about Marie Callender's? Yeah, we don't have a Marie Callender's anymore. In fact, the last time I actually was able to get really good cherry pie in a restaurant was when we still had a Margie's Diner. But it's so unbelievably hard to find, right? And so throughout the pandemic, my family and I have been ordering our groceries and having them delivered to us. Reduce our chances of exposure. 3 times in the last 8 months, I've tried to order cherry pie. And 3 times they have given me apple pie. Now, at this point, I don't know if it's just that they've ran out of cherry pie and just given me an apple pie just to fulfill my order, or if somebody is looking at my order and going, cherry pie? What the fuck is wrong with this guy? Here, I'm going to give him an apple pie. Because I've had those experiences at restaurants where I ordered something and my server decided, no, that's no good. You don't want that. You would rather have this. I actually got into a fight with a server one time because he refused to accept the order that I gave him, which I didn't understand because it was something directly from the menu. I didn't order anything like weird or complex or anything. I was like, hey, let me get that. He's like, no, you don't want that. You would rather have blah, blah, blah. And I didn't want blah, blah, blah. I wanted what I had ordered. So we got into an argument. But again, that's not the point. What is up with the war on cherry pie? Why do people hate this absolutely delicious, wonderful thing? And more to the point, why do I love it so much? Every day I wake up, I have a cup of coffee, black. And I think to myself, I really wish I had cherry pie to go with this coffee. And I never really questioned it. Like, why do I always want cherry pie with my coffee? Like, why? Like, what specifically is it about the pie or the cherry pie that coffee just makes me want to have some? Well, not too long ago, I decided to completely rewatch Twin Peaks. I saw it when I was 6 when the show first aired, or 5 or 6, 1990, right? I was 5 going on 6 when the show first aired, and I would watch it with my parents, and I watched every single episode, but that was like 30 years ago, and sometimes it's hard to remember, especially from when you're a little kid, right? Things just kind of go out of your memory bank. And as I was rewatching Twin Peaks, I couldn't help but notice every morning Agent Dale Cooper drinks a cup of coffee black, which is the only way I take coffee, and has cherry pie. That is his thing. And he will judge a place on how good their black coffee and cherry pie is. And I started to wonder, did this weird, bizarre, nonsensical David Lynch show shape who I would be as an adult? I can't really convince myself no. And there's more evidence to show yeah. And I don't know how I feel about that. Because you guys ever watch Twin Peaks? I could try to describe it to you, but I don't understand it myself. And when I was a kid, I used to just think, oh, I don't get this because I'm a little kid. I'm not old enough to understand this shit. This is so complex. Well, now I'm a man in my 30s. And as I got through the series, I realized the further on I went, the less I understood. The more I knew, the less I understood. Because it's a weird show. It starts off as a murder mystery, but you figure out who the killer was pretty early on. And then it becomes something else entirely that I can't quite understand, but there's alternate dimensions, people in a red room speaking backwards, literally backwards, aliens for some reason. And because the show got canceled early, none of that shit ever came to fruition and got fully fleshed out and explained. But then a few years ago, they brought it back. Twin Peaks: The Return, with as much of the original cast as they possibly could get. And when I finished the original series, I thought, okay, I'm going to give this a shot now. Surely, this will explain all the unanswered questions. And I was wrong. I'm about halfway through right now, and it's even weirder than the original. So much so, I can't even describe what it's about because I don't fully understand any of it. There are 3 Dale Cooper's running around. One of them is evil. And he's probably the original killer. So, for context, the original killer. Spoilers if you guys have intended to watch it and haven't gotten there. It was the girl's father, but he was possessed by an entity called Bob. And this third Dale Cooper, it would appear, is Bob. Now, the ending of the original series basically spelled that out. So my confusion isn't that. My confusion is I still don't understand what the hell is happening, right? Then there's the original Dale Cooper, who has been away in an alternate dimension for 25 years. And then there is some third Dale Cooper. And where I'm at in the series right now, that hasn't been fully explained to me yet. So I'm just absolutely confused. There is a dude in New York who gets paid to just stare at this glass box and just wait for some kind of anomaly. And as he's about to hook up with the girl from Californication, the fucking and punching girl, I can't remember the character's name, but the actress is Madeline Zima. Right as they start hooking up, some weird kind of entity comes out of that box and slaughters them both. That hasn't been explained to me yet. A friend of mine who has seen all of this has just told me just to shut up and just enjoy the weird David Lynch shit. And I'd like to. I'm trying, but I'd also like to have some fucking cherry pie right now. But anyway, enough of that. Something big happened today in the world of sports. Sarah Fuller became the first ever woman to play in a Power 5 football game. She is now the place kicker for Vanderbilt. And they lost, but that's not the point. The point is history was made. This has never happened at this high of a level before. This was a huge deal. And apparently, not everybody appreciated it. Sports personality Jason Whitlock tweeted out today, "Things I'm not supposed to ask. Does Vanderbilt have a men's soccer team? Were any of the guys on the men's soccer team considered to kick for the football team? Did Vandy choose the best candidate or the most publicity?" And to that, I say, fuck you, Jason Whitlock. Why are you such a hater? This is a big deal. This is major. Let this woman enjoy her day. No woman has ever done this before. This is groundbreaking. I mean, I don't know if this is going to lead to anything, I don't know if this is going to lead anything to the future. I don't know if this is going to change the game. I don't know if this is going to mean other schools are going to start accepting women into their football teams. I have no clue. All I know is that no woman has ever done this before, and this is cause for celebration. And Jason Whitlock's got to stop hating on women, man. I don't know what it is, but that's one misogynistic motherfucker, and he needs to shut up. Also in the world of sports, tonight, in just a few hours from my recording of this, Mike Tyson is coming out of retirement to fight Roy Jones Jr. My understanding is that this is an exhibition match, but it's still on pay-per-view. And it's still a big goddamn deal because we're talking about two of the greatest fighters of all time. One more so in Mike Tyson. But this is just so bizarre to me. Mike Tyson hasn't fought in well over a decade, right? I remember when he had originally retired from boxing and he had signed a contract with K1. For those who don't remember, K1 was a Japanese kickboxing organization and for a very long time was the absolute pinnacle of kickboxing on the planet Earth. Guys like Ernesto Hus, Remy Bonyansky, Gokhan Saki, we're talking like some of the greatest kickboxers of all time competed in K1. And then some of the not greatest. I mean, if anyone's familiar with the name Bob Sapp, he was a terrible fighter, but he was a very marketable fighter. Very popular, so he kept getting work. I remember when he fought Jerome LeBanner in this really bizarre, I'm talking about Bob Sapp versus Jerome LeBanner, a very bizarre hybrid kickboxing MMA rules fight. Like literally they would alternate between rounds. One round would be MMA rules, the next round would be kickboxing rules, and went on for 4 rounds. So they had 2 rounds of each. And in all 4 rounds, Jerome LeBanner just beat the ever-loving hell out of Bob Sapp, but it was ruled a draw. Don't look too much into that. It doesn't really matter. I'm getting sidetracked here. But point is, I remember after Mike Tyson retired from boxing, he had signed a contract to compete in K1. And the story that I had read a very long time ago, and I never even found out if this story was true or not. This was just something I read on the MMA Underground many, many, many years ago, was that Mike Tyson went to Thailand to train in Muay Thai and basically came to the decision, fuck this, I'm not doing this. This is too much, too hard, can't do it. I mean, I can tell you from personal experience, if you've never kicked before, trying to learn how to kick is actually a very difficult thing. It's not easy. It's really not. And it's not a natural thing to do. Like throwing a punch is a natural thing to do. A lot of us are taught how to do it at a very young age. Not all of us are taught how to kick. Kicking is a whole other skill set. And people who are really good at kicking are talented as fuck. So I understand. And I buy into that story because it makes a hell of a lot of sense. He was a boxer. It's a very difficult transition to make. But I was always disappointed because they did this little thing where Bob Sapp and Mike Tyson exchanged some words after one of Bob Sapp's fights. I forget which one. To promote what was supposed to be Bob Sapp versus Mike Tyson at K1, and it never happened. And it's a damn shame because I would have loved to have seen Mike Tyson just knock his ass out. Because he would have. I don't care what the rules are. I mean, kickboxing, MMA, Mike Tyson puts his hands on Bob Sapp, he's out. Plain and simple. But it was never meant to be. Roy Jones Jr., another one of the greatest boxers of all time. Not quite on the same level as Mike Tyson, but not many people are. I mean, for those who weren't around to watch Mike Tyson in his prime, we're talking about a pure physical specimen, man. We're talking, he's way too strong to be as fast as he is, and he's way too fast to be as strong and as big as he is. Like, it's just, watching him in his prime was like watching somebody with superpowers, man. I mean, guys who are 220 pounds shouldn't be that fast. They just shouldn't be. And it's not just the strength and the speed. Everything. His mechanics were on point. Like, you're not going to find a better example of just pure and utter. I mean, this is going to sound weird to say given the context, but watching Mike Tyson fight was really a thing of beauty. Essentially, he was the perfect boxer. Like I said, his technique was on point. We're talking literally like probably top 3, if not top boxer of all time, Mike Tyson. And I might be going on waxing a little poetically here, but I had 2 heroes when I was a little kid. Bruce Lee and Mike Tyson. I wanted to be like them. That was not meant to be for a variety of genetic reasons, because in both cases, we're talking about 2 just freak physical specimens. You can train as hard as you want. You're never going to be as athletic as Bruce Lee or Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson retired at a very good time. He retired when he needed to. Roy Jones Jr., on the other hand, hasn't, to the best of my knowledge, hasn't officially retired. He still fights every once in a while, and he really shouldn't. He should have retired a very, very long time ago. I might be getting the fight wrong, but I think it was against Danny Green. Might not have been against Danny Green, but he was fighting overseas. I want to say Germany. And I remember watching, and he was out on his feet against the ropes. So much so that his opponent is basically pleading with the referee, hey, stop the fight, he's out. And the referee wouldn't. And that's just awful. It's terrible to watch. I don't recommend doing so. Again, I might have had the fight wrong, and I might have had the location wrong. It was a long time ago, but that's what I'm getting at, is he should have retired a very long time ago. But he's fighting Mike Tyson. And as terrible as it sounds, I guarantee you I'm going to watch. And I don't think I'm the only one. Because Mike Tyson is coming out of retirement. Mike fucking Tyson is coming out of retirement. Like, on a list of things I never thought I'd see happen, I guarantee you this is high up on that list, because why would he? Why is he? In the videos I've seen, he looks to be in better shape than Chuck Liddell was when he came out of retirement. What was that, last year or the year before? I want to say it was last year when Chuck Liddell fought Tito Ortiz in that just god-awful Oscar De La Hoya promoted MMA event where my understanding was they couldn't sell tickets, so they tried giving out tickets for free at the door and then had a hard time doing that. But Chuck Liddell hadn't fought in almost 10 years. He was pushing 50. There's a reason that Chuck Liddell retired in the first place. He had no business coming out of retirement, especially to beat a guy he'd already beat 3 times. Or was it twice? How many times did Chuck and Tito fight? Was it their 3rd fight or 4th fight? I can't remember. Point is, Tito couldn't beat him in his prime. Beat him pretty easily. 9 years into retirement, which is not an accomplishment worth celebrating. But Tito did anyway. Tito's special. But I'm going to watch. I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm excited about it. $50 price tag, though, on that pay-per-view. I don't know about that. Is it cheaper than a UFC event and most other boxing pay-per-views? Yeah. In other news, I know I'm late to this party. But all right, so all throughout the pandemic, I've had a lot of, downtime. I'm unemployed, as my listeners will know. And so I decided I'm probably going to take the time to watch all these various things that I've wanted to watch over the years and just never got around to. Most of it was movies. But then I hit a wall where, I'm combing through all the stuff on Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu and HBO and everything. And I started thinking, I'm running out of stuff to watch here. Not that there's things I haven't watched, it's just things that I've been wanting to watch that I never got around to, starting to run thin. To the point where I decided I was going to play some video games I never played before because I couldn't find anything anymore. I don't know what happened last week, but something just drove me to decide I'm finally going to watch Battlestar Galactica. Not the original, although now I'm thinking about watching that too. The remake on Sci-Fi Channel from 2004 with starring the only Edward that really matters, Edward James Olmos. I like saying that because it pisses off Twilight fans. Because I know a lot of people, when they hear the name Edward, they think of Twilight. But when you hear the name Edward, you should be thinking James Olmos. One of the greatest actors of the last 40 years. And I will defend that to the death. Stand and Deliver. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. My math teacher back in middle school made us watch it a bunch of times, and I completely fell in love with that movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. But yeah, I didn't have Sci-Fi Channel when it was on the air. And an ironic twist of fate, I wouldn't get Sci-Fi Channel until the season after the show ended. But we're talking about nominated for a bunch of awards, won some, I think it even won some Emmys. Huge hit when it was on. It was on for 4 seasons. And working at a comic book store for as long as I did, it came up in conversation a lot. But I'd never seen it. Never saw the original. In fact, only thing I really knew about Battlestar Galactica was the name Cylon, the name Starbuck. And I always thought it was a Star Wars clone. The original show came out in 1978. Riding the coattails of the success of the 1977 hit Star Wars, which would later become Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. But in 1977, it was just called Star Wars. And I'll talk about Star Wars in a little bit. But people would tell me, oh, you haven't seen Battlestar Galactica? Oh my God, it's so good. It is so good. But that's all they would say. They would say that, and oh my God, Katie Sackhoff is so hot. I swear, those are the only things I would ever hear about the show. And I wanted to give it a shot. I finally did. I'm on season 2 now, and I'm completely in love with the show. The show is awesome. I get it now, Dwight Schrute. And I disagree with Jim. Bears do not beat Battlestar Galactica. I also didn't realize, well, like I said, I didn't know anything about this show. But I am absolutely loving it. I really wish Sci-Fi Channel was still at this level of quality. Because it seems like this was like the peak, right? And then after Battlestar Galactica was over, Sci-Fi Channel kind of just Or, yeah, they changed their name from Sci-Fi to SYFY, Sci-Fi. And I always thought that was a terrible move, but they've stuck to that for the better part of a decade. The quality of their programming really went downhill, although I'm sure somebody listening is going to tell me that, what was that show, Haven or Warehouse 13 was really good. I'm sure you guys enjoyed it. I doubt it was as good as this, because this is absolutely fantastic. Now, I'm not going to say I understand it fully, because it is a little bit confusing trying to figure out who is and who isn't a Cylon. And the ones who are Cylons have copies of themselves. So there's two versions, if not multiple versions, of various characters running around. And it's starting to seem that some of them have a hidden agenda. Not all of them are bad. One of them actually tried to go good. But I'm still young into my viewing of this show. And like I said a moment ago, I always thought this was like a Star Wars clone. It's not. It is a Star Trek clone. For all intents and purposes. This actually has very little in common with Star Wars, and a hell of a lot in common with Star Trek. In fact, I'd go as far as say it's basically just Star Trek, but with X-Wings. That would be the comparison I would make to Star Wars. Some of the more interesting characters, actually my favorite character on the show is Starbuck, played by Katie Sackhoff. She is a Viper, that's what their version of the X-Wings are. A Viper fighter pilot. And she is awesome. Now, I don't like every character. Some of these characters I don't like, and you're not supposed to. Some of these characters are pretty douchey. And some of them you're supposed to like, and I'm not that into Apollo. I mean, his character's well written. Something about the actor I'm not too crazy about. I hate the XO. He sucks, and so does his wife. And as much as I love Edward James Olmos, I don't think they give him enough to do on this show. Like, he's the commanding officer. He's the captain of the ship. And where I'm at now, in season 2, I just kind of feel, there's several episodes where he was just in a coma because he got shot. And I'm thinking, how do you underuse Edward James Olmos like this? I don't know. But Starbuck is definitely, so far in the show, my favorite character. And where I'm at right now, it seems like her character is going to get even more important than she already is. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm absolutely loving this show. I now feel I'm a better nerd for it. I've always been kind of a bad nerd. I've been a nerd my entire life, but there's a variety of nerd staples that like I said, I'd never seen a single frame of Battlestar Galactica until now. I've never seen 2001: A Space Odyssey. That came up because someone found a monolith in the desert somewhere. And it's a mystery as to how it got there. I wouldn't know if it's that much of a mystery. I'm pretty sure someone just really liked 2001: Space Odyssey, made a big silver monolith, and just put it right in the middle of the desert, just simply to create this new story. But I've never seen one of the greatest sci-fi movies of all time. I'm a bad nerd. I only like some of the Star Trek series. Like, really. And only a couple of the movies, to be honest with you. Most of the Star Trek movies suck. Again, I'm a bad nerd. I know. And I get it. I've never seen Babylon 5. Or the Stargate series. I've seen the movie. Saw it in theaters. I was like 10, I think, when that came out. Loved it. Never watched the shows. But now I've seen Battlestar Galactica. Or I am watching it currently. On Peacock. Which is a weird streaming service because some of it's free. And some of it you have to pay to get premium to watch. And I've watched enough of Peacock right now to determine that, as far as I'm concerned, most of their best stuff is free. And most of their crap you have to pay for. And that's just weird to me. Cool, I'm taking advantage of that, but weird. Case in point, earlier this week, they launched their Saved by the Bell revival. The first episode was free and the rest you have to pay for. But I watched that first episode. And you know what, NBC? I'm good. I love the original series. I even like the college years. I don't like the new class because that just sucked. And that's kind of what this feels like. Do you guys ever watch Saved by the Bell? Those who have you ever watched the new class? They brought Screech back onto the new class because it wasn't successful. Because the new class was just lame. None of the characters were interesting. Only one who came back originally was Principal Belding, because he was the principal Bayside. You don't just leave because your kids go off to college. But they brought Screech back in to boost ratings. And I guess it did because it was on for a while. But this feels just like that, except for everyone but Screech came back. But it wasn't good. In fact, I'd say it's downright cringy. Especially the new theme song. It's the same lyrics, but a radically different song, and I wanted to punch that song. Have you ever wanted to punch a song? I wanted to punch this theme song. But yeah, I ain't paying for premium to watch that. Sorry, NBC. Maybe if it was still free, I might have given the second episode a chance. But nah, I'm good. I just went back to watching Battlestar Galactica. But there is one TV show that is worth paying for. That's The Mandalorian. I know, I'm lame with these transitions and segues. But this week's Mandalorian was big. 2 major things happened. Oh, 3 major things happened. 1, fan favorite character Ahsoka Tano made her live action debut. Played by Rosario Dawson, whom I thought was perfect. Now, going back to me being a bad nerd, up until recently, I'd never seen the Clone Wars. I love Star Wars. Star Wars, I've said it before, my 2 favorite things in life are Star Wars and Raiders football. But I also hate the prequels. And I mean, I hate them. All 3 of them. Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith are god-awful films. And I hate damn near everything about them. So I never wanted to watch the Clone Wars. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm in season 3 right now, and I don't hate the Clone Wars, but I don't love it the way that a lot of other people do. And so I'm still learning who Ahsoka is. But people love her. We're talking, this is one of the most popular Star Wars characters of all time, and that's saying a lot. But after watching this episode, I get it, guys. She is awesome. In fact, this has been my favorite episode of The Mandalorian to date so far. The obvious nods to various Akira Kurosawa, Jidageki films are there, visually, in tone. Except for, instead of one wandering hero, which has been to date Mando, we have 2 wandering solo heroes as Mando and Ahsoka join forces to take on an evil magistrate who has a town under lock. What's that phrase I'm looking for? She's ruling this town with an iron fist. People aren't even allowed to talk to strangers. That was weird. Michael Biehn guest starred. You might remember him from such films as Terminator. He was Kyle Reese. Or Aliens, one of my favorite films of all time. He was Corporal Hicks, one of the Space Marines. Or Sheriff What's-His-Name from Planet Terror. Very underrated film. Very underappreciated film. My opinion, Robert Rodriguez's second best film after Desperado. But although he didn't do much in this episode. And he ain't looking too good. I mean, I get it. He's got to be in his late 50s, early 60s at this point. But I mean, look at Linda Carter. She was Wonder Woman 40 years ago. She looks fantastic right now. I don't know. Some people just age differently. But anyway, this episode featured some of the best lightsaber everything I've ever seen. Man, I mean, she's cutting through dudes who are standing in front of bells, and she's slicing right through the bells like it's butter. Like, that shit was cool. Again, I don't know too much about the character yet. Where I'm at she's still a Padawan. I understand there's a lot more development to happen. And I definitely don't know anything about how she got these two lightsabers, a standard length blade and a shorter blade, which is to mimic, the katana and the wakizashi that samurai would often wear. Long sword, short sword. But various videos I've seen says it comes from an Inquisitor. I haven't even made it to Rebels yet, so all I know about the Inquisitors is what I know from Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Fantastic game. It's like a must for any Star Wars fan. I absolutely cannot stress enough. If you are a Star Wars fan, Jedi Fallen Order is a must-play game. You will not regret it. The main character of that game is a character by the name of Cal Kestis. He was created for the game. I forget the name of the actor who does the voice of him, but that actor was also a very popular actor from the show Gotham, which I never watched. Like I said, guys, I'm a bad nerd, but Gotham sucked. I don't care if you liked it. That show was awful, but it was very popular. So odds are pretty good you'd recognize the ginger kid from Gotham. He plays Cal Kestis. He's also the model for the character, which means they could easily just bring him in the live action because the actor's face is the character's face as well. He did all the motion capture stuff for him. And I'm really hoping they do that. Now that Ahsoka Tano has been brought into live action, albeit not played by the original voice actor, unlike my favorite actress from Battlestar Galactica, Katie Sackhoff, who played Bo-Katan on the Clone Wars, she also played Bo-Katan in The Mandalorian. And I think that's really sweet. I think it's really cool. But seeing Cal Kestis in live action at this point is kind of a pipe dream. I don't think it's going to happen. It's just wishful thinking. But you never know, right? Anything could happen at this point. The second big thing that happened on this episode, we finally learned Baby Yoda's name and origin. His name is Grogu. Really? Grogu? You couldn't have given this kid a better name than Grogu? I'm not calling him Grogu. That name is dumb. He's always going to be Baby Yoda to me. But he used to train at the Jedi Temple in Coruscant, was trained by many Jedi Masters, and was rescued sometime either during the execution of Order 66 or prior to that. But he was rescued by an unknown character and has just been in hiding ever since. Who was he rescued by? If we don't find that out, I'm going to be very upset, because that's one of those things that you just can't. You can't present Chekhov's gun like that and not have it go off. My current guess, Mace Windu. I don't know. Turns out Mace Windu didn't die after all, right? Like, that's a thing, isn't it? Like, didn't they confirm that, he actually didn't die when he got thrown out the window? I mean, Darth Maul didn't die. Boba Fett's still alive. Anything can happen. Palpatine was still alive. I'm surprised Vader didn't come back. And I know we saw his body burning on the pyre. I get that. I'm just saying. The third, and arguably the biggest moment of the episode, and quite possibly the biggest name drop in sci-fi history. The end of the episode is Ahsoka Tano is fighting the magistrate. She demands to know the location of her master. And she asks, where is Grand Admiral Thrawn? Now, again, guys, I'm a bad nerd. I wasn't too crazy about the expanded universe. I read some stuff, didn't really like it. Dark Empire trilogy and all that stuff. Although, I'll say I like that. I like Dark Empire more than Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker. I hated The Last Jedi, and I was very disappointed in The Rise of Skywalker. And as much as I wasn't a big fan of the expanded universe, I like some of that shit better than we ended up getting. But not being a fan of the expanded universe, I never read the Thrawn trilogy. or really anything with Thrawn in it. I just knew character was a fan favorite. People loved him. I had to hear about that kind of shit from customers of mine at the comic book store all the time, right? But even then, I still know very little about the character other than he was a villain to be feared and apparently admired. But my understanding is he has a great military intellect, and that's what made him so dangerous. Could be wrong. Again, I haven't read anything with him in it. I didn't even read the Thrawn comic book that came out a couple years ago from Marvel. I know when he got brought into Rebels, that was a huge deal because now this character is officially canon. But I know enough about the character to know that I almost lost my shit when she asked, "Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn?" I got as excited as I possibly could without knowing damn near anything about this character. Because that's how popular this character is. That's how big of a deal this character is. That somebody like me who's completely ignorant to him knows, oh shit, this is big. This is absolutely big. And instantly I just thought to myself, damn, you can't do that to us and not show him. And they didn't. And I knew they weren't going to. I don't know if we're even going to see him this season. There's only, 3 episodes left? But now I'm excited. Boba Fett being alive has been brought into canon. Ahsoka Tano came into live action, which means other characters could potentially come into live action. I mean, that opens up lots of possibilities. They've done it once, they can do it again. Bo-Katan came into live action. Grand Admiral Thrawn. Presumably, there's no guarantee we're going to see him at all. But now he's been mentioned. I think that's a good chance that by the end of the season we're going to see him. Who else do you think is going to pop up? I mean, I've been dying to see some Knights of the Old Republic stuff. Darth Revan, the whole shebang. Granted, that's all way before any of this stuff. And with that High Republic, line that's coming out, taking place, 400 years before? I don't know if that means that anything that happened before that is not possible as far as reintroducing into canon. I don't have a clue. I don't know if the new canon even allows to have Jedi existing 5,000 years in the past. But a man can hope. And there's nothing wrong with wishful thinking, guys. In fact, I highly encourage wishful thinking. But yeah. I mean, given the context of what the show is, I don't think there's anything bigger that can be done here. And I know I'm glossing over the previous episode where we got the Dark Troopers at the very end. The last shot showed that something in a water pod that people might be thinking might be Snoke or might be a Palpatine clone, and very well could be. And that's all big too. But this episode was bigger. This is so much bigger. And I need more episodes like this. I want... So my favorite thing about Star Wars, and I get a lot of flack for this too, kind of like my cherry pie admiration, Jedis and Sith, lightsaber stuff. Absolutely adore it. Now you might be thinking to yourself, then why did you hate the prequels? I hated the prequels because they were terrible movies. They are cringe-worthy, god-awful movies. And I can do an entire episode on what is absolutely wrong with them because there's so much that I can just talk for hours about it. And then you might be thinking to yourself, then why don't you like the Clone Wars all that much? I don't hate the Clone Wars. I found myself having a hard time getting into Clone Wars. Basically, anytime there isn't a lightsaber fight, I'm just kind of not interested. But for like 40 minutes, we got incredible Jedi shit on The Mandalorian. And I want more. I need more. I love The Mandalorian. I love that character. But now I want more of this. I know we're getting a Kenobi show. Miniseries. Like 4 episodes maybe? But I can't wait. I need more awesome live action lightsaber stuff injected right into my veins. And I know I'm not alone. I spend a lot of time online. I know I'm not the only one who loves lightsaber shit. There are entire groups and organizations dedicated to athletic lightsaber dueling. And some of that shit is awesome. I wish I could do that. I mean, even before the pandemic, I didn't have the time or the money or even anything local where I could do such a thing. I have an Ultra Sabers lightsaber. It's a basic one, but it's pretty good. I ended up lucking out. I got green. That's my favorite lightsaber. Blade color is green. Blame it on the fact that Return of the Jedi for the longest time. I mean, as an adult, Empire is my favorite film, but throughout the majority of my life, I was all about Return of the Jedi. And actually, to this day, I'd say Luke's saber, and I mean Luke's saber, because the saber that he has in A New Hope and Empire is not Luke's saber. I hate when people call it that. I hate when they called it Rey's saber. It's Anakin's saber. It was Anakin's saber that was passed down to Luke Skywalker that eventually found its way in the hands of Rey. I guess we can call her Rey Skywalker now, because that's the name she gave herself. But Luke's lightsaber is a lightsaber that he constructed prior to Return of the Jedi. That is his saber. And to this day, that is still my favorite saber. Maybe in a future episode, I'll do a ranking of my top 10 favorite sabers. I've been talking for 53 minutes. I think I'm going to wrap this up right now. Thank you for listening. Things are going to start getting even more scarier around the world, so stay safe. Stay indoors as much as you can. Social distance. Stay healthy. I understand Christmas time, it's going to get harder for a lot of us to do, but hang in there. Enjoy the rest of your day.